Hi, I'm Steven, the inventor, founder, and developer of BySubject, and I'm excited to tell you about some exciting updates. So previously, BySubject just had data from 10 law schools. Now we have data from 46 universities, and that includes law school data and non-law school data. So currently we have about 50,000 ISBNs from around 27,000 distinct course names from the 46 universities. A user can see the one or more course names from a respective school that assigned, required, or recommended the respective content by clicking on the respective source indicator, as you see here. The user can click a course name to execute a search using the click course name. So we don't have every book from every school. We don't have every course from every school, but as I said, we do have about 50,000 ISBNs from around 27,000 distinct course names. So we do have a substantial amount of data that will provide users with high quality, authoritative, comprehensive results. These contents are highly vetted, comprehensive, high quality, vetted by these very authoritative sources. So I believe that BySubject serves and will serve as a cornerstone to the democratization of education for the rest of time, and I'm extremely excited to tell you about it. So one of the exciting updates is in regard to BySubject.ai. As always, BySubject.ai, if a user executes a search on any page and there's no search results, they'll be redirected to BySubject.ai. And on the BySubject.ai page, BySubject.ai has the ability to execute searches for the user. BySubject.ai can see the top 10 results for the search query, and BySubject.ai can see anything in the viewport that the user sees, including any content names, ISBNs, class names, as well as where to buy the book, which you could always click a book to be brought to a website that's selling the respective book. So here, as I said, I purposely misspelled the word patent, and BySubject corrected the query and executed it on my behalf. And now it's talking to me about patent law, and it will also talk to the user about the results. And so it's really awesome. And one thing to note is that the source indicators are in U.S. News and World Report order, using the U.S. News and World Report ranking. However, if a school has a matching course name, it will have a highlight around the source indicator, and any highlighted source indicator will be closer to the content than non-highlighted. And if there's multiple highlighted source indicators, then they'll be in U.S. News and World Report order, just like non-highlighted source indicators are in U.S. News and World Report order. One really exciting thing that I added is degree searching and filtering. So BySubject.ai now has the ability to execute a degree search or filter for the user on BySubject.com/course results. On BySubject.com/course results, this page groups contents for respective courses like social psychology, developmental psychology, cognitive psychology, and so these contents are in ranked order, and the course names are also in ranked order. So social psychology had the most schools offer it, or is tied with the most schools offering it. Although it's actually the most schools offering it, because if it was tied, then developmental psychology would be before it, because ABC order would kick in that circumstance. So social psychology has the most amount of schools offering it, so it's the first grouping, and then the respective contents for social psychology are in ranked order. And as always, you could click a source indicator and see the one or more course names. You could click menu and be brought to the menu page for the respective school. So now on the menu page for the respective school, it's a different user interface and experience, but it's very similar to the BySubject.com/course results page in that course names are first listed, and then contents are in ranked order for respective course names, as you see here. And the user can filter by a school, or they could filter by all schools. And if they filter by a school, however, so for example, if they filter by Georgia Tech, then the course names are in ranked order. So linear algebra is obviously a course that's offered by a lot of universities, so it happens to be the top ranked course here. And then if another school references the book for that class, they will also be displayed. Their source indicator will also be displayed. So it's more comprehensive than just providing the user with just Georgia Tech data. It uses the other school's data as well to provide the user with helpful information. And if the user clicks the school name at the top here, you can execute a search for the school name on the home page. And so now each of these schools will have Georgia Tech as one of the schools that assigned, required, or recommended it. But going back here, this is a really important point. So on BySubject.com/course results, as well as on BySubject.com/menu, the user can click a course name, and BySubject.ai will tell the user about that course name, which is different than clicking a course name here, which will execute a search on the home page for the clicked course name. So different things happen there. And then if you click a content name, for example, BySubject.ai will tell the user about that content and related subjects. And so that's another really great feature to allow a user to dig in. And of course, the user can, ask follow-ups like, tell me more. And the conversation will carry on. And one important thing to note is this responses drop down. Once there's more than one response, the user can navigate to the different ones. So if you have 10 responses, this really helps the user go back to a certain part of the conversation real easily. I strongly believe all AI chat interfaces should have such a thing. The user can also hit the back button to go to the previous page. They could open the page in a new window. They could go to the home page. One important thing to note is that there is a dark and light mode. When in light mode, the highlight is not the gold or yellowish color. I prefer the dark mode. That's the default. So going back to that should be good. Let's just leave it at that, actually. Let's see. So one of the really exciting things is doing these degree searches, because a user might not know that they need to know about social psychology or developmental psychology or cognitive psychology. So even though they're interested in psychology or they're interested in biology, they might not know that they need to learn about cell biology and microbiology and developmental biology. And so these course names being in ranked order give the user an understanding about the subjects that they need to learn. And so the courses themselves are in ranked order, and the contents are also in ranked order for each of the respective course name groupings. So this will really help a user, figure out what to learn for what they're trying to learn, what to read for what they're trying to learn, or other content once we have videos and other contents. So as you can see here, BySubjectAI knows, which course names are listed. They know the order of the course. BySubjectAI knows the order of the course names. As always, you could click a content image and be brought to a page selling the respective content. I did add the ability to use more advanced models if a user pays for them. Otherwise, everyone's using 5.4 mini, which is fantastic and super quick. The user can also switch sides, as you see here. They could decide the sizing of the different areas. Double clicking it brings it back to the center. There's a little pop-up here to give the user a little information about what BySubjectAI can see. So BySubjectAI can see these the top 10 course names, their respective contents, the respective course names for each of the respective schools for the respective and corresponding books or other contents. So BySubjectAI really has all this information to talk to the user about, and obviously the user can take independent action. So if the user clicks, for example, microbiology, one of the course names, then BySubjectAI is going to talk to the user about that, just like would happen on BySubject.com/menu. If the user clicks a course name, BySubjectAI is going to tell the user about that course name, just like if they click a content name, it's going to tell them about the content name. If they click by subject at the top of the page, they're brought to BySubject.com/course results. So when you're at the home page, to get there, you just click by subject at the top. And you could get to the menu page by clicking the menu button and a source indicator pop-up, for example. If you click BySubjectAI on any of the pages, BySubject.ai will tell you about BySubject and BySubjectAI, unless you're a user who's paid for queries, because I have it set up so that's not the case in that situation. So for example, I'll get back to that in a second. This user, if a user is not logged in or has not purchased the advanced AI queries, this is what they would see. And they could, if they're not logged in and they click this, it's going to tell them to sign in or create an account. And if they are logged in, they'll be linked to Stripe to pay for the advanced AI models. But otherwise, they're still going to be able to use 5.4 mini, which, as you've seen, works fantastic. So anybody in the world can have access to the best contents in the world from some of the best universities in the world. And, they could purchase these contents or talk to the AI about the contents or related subjects. And it's a really great way for people to learn and find new stuff to learn. So for example, let's make it a doctor degree. So, a user might be interested in a certain area, but they don't know the finer details about what they should learn. So for example, if someone's interested in getting a Juris Doctorate degree, they're interested in law, here you could see, again, the course names, the course name groupings, and the courses are in ranked order, and the respective contents for each course name are also in ranked order, and you could scroll through them and see them. And so a person interested in getting their law degree might not have ever heard of administrative law, and seeing these different course names as well as these contents helps them understand what they need to learn about. Okay, so now they know they need to learn about international law, contracts, criminal law, administrative law, and all the other courses that are listed. And this is just a really objective, comprehensive way to get all the information one would need. And if they want to go dig further, that is another really exciting discussion. So the future of BySubject, and how BySubject becomes a billion-dollar company and helps further democratize education more than it already has, because I see it as a cornerstone to the democratization of education already, and it's only going to get more and more so from here. So the goal in the future is to allow a user to, for example, select one or more contents, although they could also just search within contents without selecting within one or more. But for example, they could select one or more contents and then search within the selected contents and then see previews, matched previews from within those contents. So for example, if the user searches psychology and then there's 3 books on top of one another, they could click these arrows, go to different previews that match psychology for each of these ranked books. And like normal, the books, the previews are in ranked order just like these books are. And the user will be able to click to a next or previous match. And what's super exciting in one embodiment, which the patents discuss, is limiting these previews or subsequent previews to matches from pages that from pages that are listed for corresponding table of contents or index or glossary or similar metadata matches. So, for example, if a user searches copyright and then selects 3 contents to search within and then searches fair use, the previews could say fair use, fair use, fair use, but maybe this first book has a fair use section in pages 100 to 120. So instead of just any page that mentions fair use being identified, at least for this initial preview, as well as clicking to a next or previous match, the user can control whether or not that's true in some embodiments. But so the point I'm trying to get to is these previews can show pages from the corresponding pages that are listed for a table of contents match or index match, glossary match, summary of contents match, etc., and the like. So these pages, instead of them being random pages, are the most specific best pages. So if page 100 is the start of the fair use section, then this initial preview being from page 100 would give the user this highly ranked authoritative content that the best schools, and this and the user would be able to see a next or previous page, and limiting those pages, for example, to only pages that are listed for a table of contents match or other relevant metadata match that has one or more pages listed for it. And then, the user can filter by time, schools, subjects. This is, obviously not exactly or anything like it will look like. These are just, the patent images, but I'm just trying to get you to understand. They could click to a next or previous match. They could select different books, assuming this is displayed, which of course it doesn't have to be. But one of my most exciting embodiments is having multiple previews for multiple contents stacked on top of one another. So you're searching within multiple contents as opposed to just one content. And I just think that's really exciting. And so that's how BySubject becomes a billion-dollar company, because by allowing this to occur and taking a percentage of the revenue or profit, we could further democratize education and help those copyright owners, those authors, those publishers make more money than they otherwise would have. Because right now everyone's talking about AI this, AI that, and AI is obviously great. It's amazing. I love it. It's obviously integrated into BySubject, and we'll only expand that going forward. But these contents are comprehensive. They're highly vetted. These books are assigned, recommended, and required by the best universities in the world. They go through them very carefully. They make them better and better each year. A 1,000-page constitutional law book is not going to be able to be replicated by an AI, and even if it were, why would you trust it, as opposed to highly vetted content that has been reviewed by the best schools in the world, who have told you that this content is high quality and correct, or at least very much correct. So I think the benefit is to have both, which my patents from over a decade ago discuss AI being used in conjunction with BySubject. In fact, my patents discuss AI being side by side BySubject results, as you see here. And so I've been dreaming of this for over a decade. I've been working on this nonstop, basically. It's to get to this point. So this is a surreal moment for me, and I just want to show you some more examples. So you could click BySubject.ai at the top, and I just want to point out that from any page, you could get to BySubject, to BySubject.ai. I mean, and you could submit queries to BySubject.ai through the homepage or any other page. You don't have to go to BySubject.ai or BySubject.com/AI. So another thing I want to point out is sometimes BySubject.ai will suggest a query to execute. And as you see, I clicked it, it executed the query. And now BySubject.ai is going to tell me about the results. One really important thing to note, which BySubject.ai just talked about it perfectly right here, is so I just added yesterday actually this advanced functionality. So currently contents are identified if they match a course name or they match a content name or an ISBN or a school name. However, if you want more narrow results, you could toggle on one or both of these controls here, and you could make it so it must have a content name match and or it must have a course name match. So for example, if there is no course name match, then the content would not be identified. If there is no content name match, then the content would not be identified. So now that I've turned these both on, we could execute this search again, and now the results are different because it must have psychology in the content name, and there must be a matched course name as well. So this is a excellent way to get even better results. However, there are many circumstances where you are not going to want these advanced filters on. There are many circumstances where okay, just obviously embarrassingly misspelled that, but so there are many circumstances where you would not want these toggles to be on, because as you see here, getting to yes, negotiating agreement without giving in is the highest ranked content. And this would not be identified if I had the advanced filter on for must have content name match. So if I execute the search again, now that content's not identified. And so sometimes turning these advanced filters on is advantageous, other times not so. That's why I have BySubject.ai discussing that with the user. And I was going to make it so BySubject.ai can change it on the user's behalf, but I've left that completely up to the user, just like light mode and dark mode, that it's not going to be changed unless the user changes it. But if no results are identified, BySubject.ai will tell the user, hey, if you turn off that advanced filter, you'll get results, because BySubject.ai is given that information as well, which is another really cool thing. So if I execute a search with both of these toggles on and there's no results, BySubject.ai is then going to tell the user, hey, I noticed that both the toggles are on, and I did a search without them, and if you do it without them, you'll get this result, these results, this will be the top result. It'll be able to tell the user like what books would be identified if they were to turn off the toggles. So it's really fantastic. I would love to show you a ton of examples, but I'm trying not to take so much of your time. Another another good example of a search is for mechanical engineering. So using BySubject.com/course results and executing a search for mechanical engineering, you could see, again, the courses are in ranked order, and the contents for each course are grouped in ranked order. And BySubject.ai is going to talk to the user about that. Another really good one which I think I might have already done this, but let's try so then other times when it's a search that doesn't, that isn't appropriate to do a degree search or filter. So now I'm just asking for copyright law. It's just going to execute a search on the homepage for copyright law as opposed to on BySubject.com/course results. Although it doesn't always execute a search. But it did suggest I'd try this search. And now that I have, it's going to talk to me about the results. So here you could see that this is a circumstance where a result was identified that doesn't have copyright in the content title. So this one's about trade secrets and patents. And again, so I turned off that the advanced toggles. And this is a circumstance where you could say, hey, I don't want that. I want, only copyright contents. But as you could see after I hit the back button, by having these additional contents, when you typed in copyright and you see, okay, here's some copyright content, here's a specific copyright law book, but this allows the user to learn about things about related subjects. So now the user's thinking, oh, there's something called trade secrets, there's something called patents, there's state IP protections, there's trademarks. So because of this, these related subjects are being identified, it gives the user a more comprehensive set of results. And the user is more likely to expand, their knowledge and to dig deeper and to learn more and more. So whether or not to have on these toggles and which ones to have on and when to have them on is debatable. I have the default where they're off, and that's what I recommend. I recommend starting with those queries and then using one or more of the toggles to do additional queries. And I know I'm going to forget, but in the interest of making this as short as possible, I think, you could also execute searches on these pages, just like the home page, of course. And I know I'm going to think of 20 more things that I wish I said after I turn this off, but one cool thing is you could ask BySubject.ai, ask BySubject.ai about the contents that are being displayed, and anything being displayed in your viewport on the BySubject area, the content names. As you can see here, it's discussing this top one first, and it will tell you about them. Um, and it even knows where to purchase them. As always, you could click the book image and be brought to a website selling the book. But as you can see here, BySubject.ai also has that information. And here's the original one I clicked. And so that's really cool too. And here it is, saying, hey, you might want to just try this broader search of intellectual property. And when I do that, it executes the search, and then BySubject.ai is going to then talk to me about the results. So it's really set up to make the user, learn more and more, dig deeper and deeper, and have access to all the best information. And so this is an example of a search where you might want, so even though it could, you could see in the eighth result is telling you, more on point results than perhaps the first ones or the first one, although it is related. And, BySubject.ai will even talk to you about that. But going back to our previous discussion, this is an example where you might want to do the advanced search. So for example, must have content name match, and then execute the search again. And now it's closer. I could argue that the default should be for both of these toggles to be on. I might change that at a later date. But right now I've convinced myself that the better default is to have it off and have BySubject.ai discuss that with the user. You could even ask, BySubject, hey, what toggles do I have on or off? It knows for each query what you had on and off. And so, we didn't even go over the history page. So let's go over the history page. So on the history page, you could get to each page of the website. Well, it's not each page, but the main pages of the website. And you have your AI conversations as well as your page and search history. As you can see here, you could delete all of it. You could delete individual items. You could search and filter for specific ones. You could delete your entire account. You could go to the next or previous pages from your history. One really exciting thing is you could search within the AI queries. So even if you had, 10,000 conversations, you're still going to be able to search within all of your AI conversations and find the conversation really easily, which is obviously super valuable. You might have had a really interesting conversation. You might want to copy and paste certain things from it, go back to it at a later date, and this really helps. And you could also do time and type filters. And so that's another really exciting thing. I did want to show you. So for a user that, so for example, a not logged in user, if they hit BySubject.ai, BySubject.ai is going to tell the user about BySubject. And so BySubject.ai really knows like everything about BySubject. So you really can ask it, why are these source indicators glowing? Why are they highlighted? Why is this ordered this way? It really knows 99% of all the details. Here it is talking again about the advanced homepage filters. It even knows that by default both are off. So it really knows, it tells you, by the free and default model used, you could pay to get the more advanced models. It knows that Stripe is used. I mean, it really knows everything. And here it is again, suggesting a search to execute. And of course, you could get to the terms of service here. Click in terms of service. Probably should show you the light mode versions of pages. And although the menu page doesn't have a light mode version. And so, yeah, another thing you might be interested in is, not sure what, let's fix that. So you might be interested in real estate. You might say, hey, that's not the type of results I was looking for, and boom, now you do your advanced toggles and you have more refined search, more refined results. And BySubject.ai also has a light mode version. And so, yeah, that's everything. I really hope to hear from you soon. I really believe that we're going to do great things, and I'm really excited to tell you more. I'm really excited to work with the content providers in this next stage. And again, this is how we become a billion-dollar company, is by allowing users to search within one or more contents and then seeing results. For example, we could do ads, subscriptions, pay per use. Maybe they pay $1 to search to execute the search within these three contents, and we split that money. Maybe BySubject gets 50%, and then the authors get split the other 50%, for example. Some of the patents also discuss tracking the amount of time, or time with the content, or viewing a content, or amount of a content viewed by a user, and tracking that information to do like a pro rata distribution between the copyright owners. That's one way of doing it. In one example that I've been thinking a lot about, we could allow the copyright owners to determine how much they charge to, for example, if I wanted, maybe for example, they allow us to allow the previews to be displayed for free, but if a user clicks a preview to expand the page, then they have to pay a amount that the copyright owner determines, or maybe it's a preset amount that we determine for all books. For example, $1 a page, or $1. So maybe you click this preview, and that will expand the page, but also give you the next and previous page, or the surrounding 10 pages, and the user could pay $1 or $5, or however much the copyright owner demands that the user pays to access however much of their content. The copyright owner can set different scales or configurations to allow for how much of a content is accessible, how much of it is searchable. If maybe they want the whole thing to be able to be searched and the whole thing to be able to be viewed, and they want $1 per page or 10 cents per page to search within, or maybe to search within is free, but to view the page is 10 cents. And, there's a lot of different ways we could do it. We could give, I literally have so many pages of ideas and notes on this. The point of this discussion is to get you to understand that allowing the users to search within one or more contents is going to help democratize education. And by allowing them to do that, we can make the copyright owners more money than they otherwise would have. And we could also make money as well, enough to, in my opinion, become a billion-dollar entity. hopefully, and I strongly believe that that would be the case if I had sufficient funds to do this properly. And I just think it's best for the world to have this clearly. AI is fantastic, but so are these contents, and they should be used in conjunction with AI. It's not an either or, it's not AI or BySubject, it's AI plus BySubject or BySubject plus AI, really. And I just, another exciting thing to note, which I've discussed in previous videos, which I'm again not trying to get into everything, but which courses are identified and is a interesting subject in itself. For example, courses can be identified using required courses for a degree or courses that are required to be picked from. So a psychology degree, for example, might say you have to take 3 of these 5 courses in order to get your degree. So you don't necessarily have to take each of those courses. You just have to take 3 of those 5. We could identify each of those 5 for the listing here. So each of those 5 would be listed as a course name grouping. For example, in certain embodiments, the user can control for only required courses. So as opposed to courses that are in a group to be picked from being identified for this list, the user can control so only required ones, or the user can control so both required and groups that are required to be picked from, all the courses are included. And I go into this in previous videos, so I'm going to stop the discussion there. But it's just an interesting thing to note. Yep. So thanks for hearing me out. And I'm going to try to make more videos that aren't as long and go over a lot more of the exciting BySubject.ai features and examples. And I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope you have a great day.